This is Young Gun, a podcast about Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers. I'm Dimitri Ravanas, a Bama grad. She is Lauren Brownlow, the biggest Panthers fan I know, and we are following the team with a microscope on its new franchise quarterback, although Lauren...
You don't want to, yeah. When you put microscope next to this team and anything in offensively speaking, right. I don't know that you want to look that close.
I also would say probably this is the week, not the right week to use that open. Like you will notice if you watch us regularly on YouTube or on Origin Sports, we are not wearing our hats this week. Our hats, much like Bryce, also got benched without the team acknowledging it. We will talk about that a little bit later on. First, I do have to tell you about our sponsor, Graffiti, 158 East Cedar Street in downtown Cary. Specials on beer every Sunday, plus weekly prizes, 19 TVs to watch football. So it is not the kind of place where you go and you get a fancy drink and throw axes and just ignore the games. No, there's plenty of opportunity to watch football at Graffiti. All kinds of specials. Not just on beer, but on bourbon pours as well. Everything from Blanton's to Eagle Rare, Angel's Envy, McKenna 10-year, Heaven Hill 7-year, Buffalo Trace. They are all between $8 and $10 on Sunday. So be sure and watch football with our friends at Graffiti.
Absolutely. It's a great place.
All right. So we are back on Origin Sports, I believe, Tuesday at 7 p.m. That is our new regular time. So if you want to watch the TV version of this, please do it. Lauren, let's get right into this. Was Bryce too short this week?
Well, I didn't see him in the game, so maybe he shrunk all the way down.
I would tell you.
Oh, boy.
That
everyone standing next to him was taller every time we saw him.
Yeah, but they've always been. I would tell you that whether or not Bryce was too short this week, Frank Reich sure as hell went out of his way to let you know he thinks Bryce is too short between the, hey, we're trying to limit exposure BS and the fact
I am too to y'all, but I can't.
The fact that the game plan is not something they're comfortable letting Bryce do, obviously. Like, I think there is some disconnection between Frank Reich and Scott Fitterer about what they think Bryce is capable of, at least right now.
So you think like the game plan was different?
I think it was different. I think it was, we have a veteran quarterback in that we trust knows the pace of the league better.
Yes.
Like, I think you shared.
He played in Seattle before. This isn't scary or new to him.
I think you shared
just everyone else on the roster
that kind of made sense of sort of the way I was like. I don't think anybody thinks AndyDalton is a better solution for this team.
Right.
Solution he might be better acclimated right now.
Solution implies a future involved.
Right.
That's not a future solution for anybody. Although, look, he looked better than I would have.
He did.
Thought.
Agreed. Agreed. And so that's why I ask you, like, as we always joke about, was Bryce too short this week? Was it a matter of Bryce being too short, or was it a matter of AndyDalton being very tall and strapping and handsome?
I don't know if it's as much the height, as much as we joke, as it was handsome. I don't know.
No, I agree with you. I'm just trying to give you give him the benefit of the doubt. He had a good week.
Yes, he did. I think it was more experience level.
Yeah.
Than height, if we're being honest.
For sure.
I think like also looking at maybe where Bryce was at on a big stage on Monday night and just how, a little out of his depth he looked at times, to put, it's not like a primetime game necessarily, but it's a 4:00 game. A lot of people are usually watching a 4:00 game if it's on, and it's a big deal, and it's at all of that stuff. I could see him sort of reading the vibes, right? And just saying like, you know what, let's just take a little break.
Do we buy Bryce was hurt?
I don't want to do this. Like, it's not.
Okay, I will tell you why I think it is worth talking about.
I mean, it's just hard. It's difficult because does it smell? The thing that smells fishy to me is just like, we didn't see an injury, at least. And I haven't seen anyone post one that I can remember. If somebody did, apologies, but like I haven't seen it take place during the game. He didn't look like he was limping around during the game necessarily at any point. And then they put footage of him like walking to practice. Like, I think it was somewhat early in the week last week. And he's like not limping.
Right. The only other time we've seen Bryce miss a game was at Bama. And obviously, like, it was very clear he was hurt in that moment. Right.
Of course.
So that's what I didn't see. The other thing, and I will tie this back to Alabama, and not because it's Bryce and Bama, but more because, like, you and me, we can't account for dumb coach brain sometimes.
For sure.
Right?
100%.
And Nick Saban has openly talked about benching Jalen Milroe for USF was about motivating him. We always believed he's our guy. He was clearly our best option at quarterback. We knew that all along.
I don't think
something
that's
like that going on with Frank Reich. Like, how can we dismiss that?
Well, I think we can a little bit because I think it's likelier about Bryce and the way, he thought, look, it's all becoming a lot for him. It's a hard adjustment to make.
Sure.
Maybe he just needs a little break, and we'll call it a high ankle sprain because we can't talk about mental health in a healthy way in our country. And look, I'm not saying that it's not. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I don't try to play one on Twitter usually.
Yeah.
This is just stuff that's my impression from it. I feel like the messaging was also inconsistent with it. It was like he might play, might not. They wouldn't really divulge the injury. It was all a little bit like, what?
That's why this feels like a way to bench without the public shaming of calling it a benching. Because, like, to your point about the mental health, like, that would really hurt a kid 2 weeks into his NFL career. I think that would really mess with his head
for sure
a little bit.
But then I think like they're playing the 30th ranked pass defense in the NFL. Like if you're going to give him a week to maybe try to get confidence, I know it's on the road.
Yeah.
So maybe that factored in more, but it's like this. You're not going to have any better.
I mean, I say this not to imply that I think Frank Reich is just straight up bad. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what I mean by this. However, I do think it is worth noting, like, there is a reason he got fired in Indianapolis. Like, I think sometimes coach brain gets in the way of what the numbers even are telling you.
Yeah, I think that can happen for sure. I mean, it's a possibility, but I don't know. Look, I'm not trying to be all conspiracy theorist here. It's entirely possible that the Panthers just aren't very great with the messaging. It's happened before, They don't always handle QB injuries very well. Just saying.
The way more people find this show is when you like and subscribe. So please do that wherever you get the show, whether that is on YouTube, give us the thumbs up, or on your favorite podcast platform. Not only like and subscribe, we need some comments too. Ovius and Gilio like to say positive vibes only. Look, if you want to tell us how terrible we are, that's fine. I don't care. I welcome honesty. I'm not afraid.
I won't read it, but Dimitri will read it and tell me the constructive parts.
That's right.
I don't need to hear about my vocal fry. Thank you. That's sexist.
So the show obviously is all about BryceYoung, right? So far be it from literally any other media entity covering the team to say this, but I do think it is okay to acknowledge AndyDalton might be better at this right now.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that was kind of, I did have that thought, and I tried not to, because like I tried not to just like have too much bias, because I did try to keep in mind throughout that Seattle does have a terrible pass defense. Right. And just by virtue of being a vet, I think there are going to be plays that Dalton makes that Bryce isn't going to right now. And I think like that, like in that way, yes, I think, right now, is he the better option? But I guess the question that follows that would be for what?
So I'm glad you asked that, because you, as someone invested in the Panthers, can answer this better than me. Like, this isn't a matter of, you want to be low win total because then maybe you luck into Marvin Harrison Jr.
Well,
no, if
also,
you are
like, you're not, I think they traded away their pick.
That's what I was about to say. If you have a low win total, you have lucked Chicago into Marvin Harrison Jr.
Watch this be the year they actually like win one game or something, and it's like they don't even have the pick. I mean, that would be so Panther-y.
Yeah.
But usually they can't help but being mid to like lower tier mid. So, that's the Panthers most years, right?
Right.
Except for the good ones and then the really bad ones.
And those years that they are the really good seasons, I mean, just everything breaks right. Right. Like it is a matter of,
we're owed that.
Agreed. I mean, like, I think the great years, it is a matter of everything breaking right, or Cam, period.
Yes. Yeah, 100%.
So without that this year, like, are you, I don't know, maybe this is a stupid question because you're a fan of the team. Of course, you're always rooting for them to be better. But if Dalton is better right now.
I'm not one of those people necessarily, but only for draft pick's sake.
Okay, me too. But with them not having a draft pick, like,
right.
Is it important? Is it more important for you to see Bryce develop or to get to 6 wins?
I don't care that much about
with AndyDalton.
I mean, give or take.
Yeah.
Could they get to 8 or so? Yeah, but at this point, like, you're down multiple games in the division. Multiple teams look better than we all thought. Like, what are you really going to do in terms of making the playoffs? You're probably not going to win the division at this point. I mean, maybe, I don't know, they go on some tear or something, but they're not in a great spot right now.
Yeah.
And so, like, I don't know. But at the same time, like, what can we learn about Bryce this year? Like, what can he learn too. And that's what I worry about.
So let me ask you, okay, so to clarify that, do you mean what can he learn just at all in his first year in the NFL, or with this roster, what is he actually
It's more
capable
like
of?
with this roster.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not, obviously he could learn a lot.
Yeah.
But
that's what I was like, hang on, Lord.
You know what I will say? Andy Dalton gave me some hope in the sense that, like, okay, maybe there is hope there that when like Bryce gets a little more comfortable, he'll be, because that seemed to me to be the biggest difference.
Oh, for sure.
Andy Dalton doesn't care if he takes a hit. He doesn't care if he throws a pick. What does he have to lose? He doesn't care.
I mean, since leaving Cincinnati, Dallas, New Orleans, there's one more team. Like he's been used to coming off the bench for someone that isn't all the way there as the starting quarterback.
For sure. And he's great in that role. Like, and I actually had doubts about that because he had been so bad recently.
Right.
And so I wasn't too fired up that they were having Andy Dalton come in. And I've also, I've got trauma from Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold to sort out.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm like, great. Another has been terrible quarterback. Okay. But he wasn't terrible at all.
And also he's not, I mean, look, as much as I say, I don't think it is the worst thing in the world to acknowledge he might be in a better place than Bryce is
to win football
right now.
Specifically.
Right.
Yeah.
He's also not the guy you're relying on. I think that's the big difference.
Right, exactly. Like he can't be the guy that's going to win you football games either. Like that's not Andy Dalton. Can he make sure, like, can he help you not lose them? Yeah, and he did his best. I feel like, but the Panthers are allergic to end zone paint for the most part. But they did fine in that department. They scored.
No, for sure. And listen, this is why I ask, like,
he hit some deep throws too. I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
The deep throws.
I think that one of the things, and we've talked about this a number of times whenever, especially when we're talking about, was Bryce too short? I mean, I think there are times towards the end of games, he gets so frustrated that he is throwing the ball as hard as he can and as far as he can and missing what should be deep shots because he's trying to get it all on one throw.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I mean, listen, I don't think anybody here thought that Bryce had like the biggest arm of any of the rookies coming out, right?
Oh, I did. I wasn't sure. I thought it was at least good.
Oh, no, it is good.
Oh, okay.
It is good. But what I'm saying is, like, I think there's a reason you're seeing Stroud do what Stroud is doing, and the strength is the only reason that you even consider Anthony Richardson a first round pick.
For sure. Yeah, no, that's a good point. And I think, you definitely saw some throws that Andy made look a lot easier for him for, again, a multitude of reasons than for Bryce, the pass defense, the veteran, whatever you want to say. Like there's multiple things going on here.
Yeah.
There are layers to this.
All right. So 58 pass attempts. For
when they said
Andy
that
Dalton.
at one point, I was like, because it like weirdly didn't super feel like it.
Yeah.
But by the end of the game, they were like, his 56 pass attempt. I was like, excuse me? Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, they didn't even run 50 plays last week.
Yeah.
So,
a Panthers record surpassing Chris Winkie, who did you know this, has the distinction of having the most passes in a Panthers game in history and the fewest passes in a Panthers game in history.
Neither of those surprises me whatsoever. Berline would have been the only other one that I would have thought maybe would have pushed him for the attempts anyway.
So have we just given up on the run game?
I mean, they don't seem to. You know what I'm sick of with the run game?
What's that?
Those sad first down runs. Because it's almost like, it's not like getting a penalty because you're not going backwards.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're getting nothing.
Right.
You are getting nothing.
Right.
It felt like every drive. And I started abbreviating them in my notes to you. I took notes. I called it a sad Sanders run.
Right.
I'm not saying Sanders, actually getting him the ball, in the pass game was actually a good thing for them. They were able to make some positive things happen there. It wasn't perfect, but like they were able to make some big plays out of that. But he just like gets the ball and falls really sadly, like into the waiting arms of the defender. I'm not blaming it on him. Like he's being met right away. I'm not saying like he should be like putting a bunch of moves on people, but the run game is just like, it ain't running.
Well, I mean, for the love of God, you would hope he could put some moves on people, right?
I don't know. It feels like he's not, but I'm not a running back. Like, I don't know what that's supposed to look like. I don't know. It doesn't seem like he has a lot of like obviously empty holes that he's not running through, though. I will say that.
Here's what I guess I don't understand about the way the run game is being treated, or at least was treated this week. You had 4 different guys get carries, right? You had Sanders lead the way with 7. Andy Dalton gets credit for 5.
And then the weird Chenault experience.
Chenault had 2.
It was only 2?
Yeah, it was only 2. And Chuba had 1.
Yeah, that was
like so add all that up, 15 carries in the game to 58 passes. Like I just don't get it. Like this offensive line has problems.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
And they have running back problems too. Like,
Agreed.
let's be real, because
Agreed.
none of those guys, while they might look way better with a better line,
Yeah.
none of those guys are going to be your starter, your franchise guy, whatever, if people even still do that with running backs. But like, none of those guys are good enough to be that guy.
No, agreed. And I would tell you that I think that part of what it is that makes Miles Sanders appealing to any team, not just the Panthers, what made him appealing to any team coming off of last season is him working out of the backfield as a receiving option is part of what made Jalen Hurts take that leap last year. Right. So I don't know if this is a matter of the running back problems or it is let's limit. Again, we'll use Frank Reich's term. Let's limit the exposure of this offensive line to hurt us.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, but I think like the thing is, I think they'd like to run it. And I think in some games we've seen them kind of like have success with it and then keep going with it. But all of the games, I feel like one thing we are seeing, I do think that puts them in such a hole when they try those first down runs every single time, it feels like, because they're waiting for you.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's waiting. They know what it's going to look like. They know where it's going to go. Somebody's got to do something. Like, it's literally driving me insane.
Right.
Their first down plays put them in such, like, they have to execute perfectly. They need to figure out a way to like manufacture yards from somewhere, whether it's the run game. They were doing a little more of those, like, you know, those little like shovel passes in the backfield, like while Sanders is running type of thing. That had mixed success because you can't have anything too slow developing either. That's the other thing. And for the most part, they've stayed away from that. But like, I just, you know, it wasn't working in this game. It was very obvious early. And yet every time they would get the ball back, what was the first play of every, I mean, it felt like every time they got a first down, they would do this. Yeah. And I was like, I'm going insane.
Why only one carry for Chuba?
Yeah, that was weird. It didn't really strike me until he carried it. Because I think it was like towards the end. Yeah. And I was like, oh,
there you are.
Like, maybe I just assumed he was hurt or something, but I was so like mad about everything else going on.
You will appreciate this, even though Chuba did have 2 catches for a grand total of 2 yards. Chuba Hubbard ran the ball as many times as they threw to IanThomas on the day.
Dude, well, my face when an IanThomas sighting happens, I'm like, I'm sorry. Do you purposely bring him in at the most random moments of the game? Like, he may have been on the field for other snaps and I didn't notice him, but I was like, where did he come from?
He is a part of the punt protection team, right? I think I remember.
Yes, he's on special teams in some capacity. Yeah. But it's like, you know, what?
Yeah, that is the only appropriate reaction.
I was like, where was he? I don't know. It was just weird. It was almost like he was going down. You know what? Let's get Ian.
Let's
get Ian a turn. I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah,
he caught it.
It's the little leaguer that gets 2 innings in right field as part of league rules.
Well, let's not go that. I still think he has more talent than they've been able to get out of him.
I agree with you.
It's frustrating.
I agree with you.
We've seen the glimpses before.
I don't think the rookie season promise just went away.
No.
Right?
Although maybe now it has because he's out of practice. Like, he's rusty. I don't know. Maybe he's lost hope too. Yeah. I would have. I'd have been like, well, they hate me. I mean, I'm sure there's more going on behind the scenes probably, but like, well, then why is he still around? You know, I don't know.
Agreed.
It's all frustrating.
It's one of those bad marriages that at this point, it's just like, you know what? It's just easier to stay
like
together.
Me and having hope in this team. It's a very toxic relationship.
All right, Lauren, we mentioned it earlier, and we have to acknowledge, right? There were a lot of people that wanted CJStroud over BryceYoung. And those people have gotten very emboldened through the first 3 weeks of CJStroud's career. And you and I cannot ignore that CJStroud has put up a really solid first 3 weeks. The first quarterback in NFL history through 3 starts to have 900 or more passing yards, 4 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. That is a very specific kind of history to make. But look, if you're a Houston Texans fan, you probably feel pretty good about that and are latching on to it. And if you are a Panthers fan that never liked Bryce, you probably are pretty upset about that and latching on to it.
Full disclosure, like, and look, I've been wrong a lot of times. So, like, I was mad about Justin Fields for years. Less mad now. No offense, Justin. I still think you're in a terrible situation too, but coming here wouldn't be any better. So. Right. But I didn't feel super strongly about it. I preferred Stroud personally, but then there was that whole, and it's such a like stupid stereotype to even take into account, but there's that whole like, oh, you know, Ohio State quarterbacks, I don't know, like whatever. But I was like, I don't care. Like, I watched him. He's great. And I mean, I felt like Bryce was great too. Sure. I just felt a little bit better about maybe his, skill set and physical
and
stuff.
It's totally understandable. Coming out, I thought both of them were can't miss kind of prospects. Not like Trevor Lawrence, Peyton Manning level, but I thought both of them looked like those guys are going to succeed in the NFL. And even though in my heart I'm a Bryce guy, I understood all the arguments for Stroud.
And it's hard. Like, I'm not going to sit there and it's been 3 games. Like, yeah. I'm not going to sit there and say, oh, they made the wrong decision. I will say this. Sometimes I'm more concerned with the fact that they drafted him and seemed to have no help for him whatsoever and just want him to go out there and
we talking about Bryce?
Yeah, Bryce. Yeah. Right. But I don't know. Stroud, maybe would he have helped more? I mean, maybe, probably a little bit. But at the same time, this roster's limitations are still its limitations.
For sure.
So it's not like he would take them on some magical playoff run. Would it give the fans something more to be excited about, though? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I think as much as was made of that very specific kind of history he made yesterday, I think what is more impressive is through his first 3 games, he has 0 interceptions, 906 yards through the air. And outside of Justin Herbert,
this is hurting.
With 0 interceptions, nobody else has more than 750. That is a lot that the Texans are putting on CJStroud. So I think it is okay to acknowledge.
I can't deal with being outfoxed by the Texans. It's not I can't even say it out loud.
I don't again, another Bama guy. I hope D'Amico Ryans is everything we hope he is or think he is as a head coach. But I don't know. I totally understand because I think the Texans took a bigger gamble with their reset than the Panthers
it's
did.
More about their organizational incompetence than D'Amico. But yeah, I mean, it's just
all right. So what do you want to see next week? Do you want to see Bryce on the field? Do you want to see AndyDalton ride this until it just doesn't make sense anymore? What do you hope for next week? Because everybody listening and watching knows I want Bryce in, period. The end.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough. I can tell you 2 things I know I want. One of them is don't tease me. Please stop doing that. Please stop. You fall behind, you come back, you get a lead. It's looking great.
Yeah.
It's looking like maybe. Then they start coming back. All of a sudden, okay, they're still in this. Just put me out of my misery early. Please.
Let you get on with your Sunday.
I mean, literally, right? I mean, not, would I still watch? Of course I would still watch, but am I living and dying with every play? Am I filled with rage every other minute? No.
Yeah.
Please, it takes a lot out of me. That's what I want.
I told Lauren this yesterday. I decided with Bryce on the bench, I'm taking my kids to BuschGardens. And instantly that was as bad as watching the Carolina Panthers play football.
That's its own set of problems, but I bet you felt great that you spent the time with your kids, and I get that.
You know what? They're okay people.
Sorry. That's really, they're right.
Yeah, they're fine. They're fine. Not my favorite, but my wife gets along with them.
Their dad's a bit of an
Dad's a bit of an At BuschGardens, I did the most dad thing ever, which was I will walk with you to the rides, and then I will sit outside with a scowl on my face until you are done having fun.
I feel like at amusement, that's like dad at the mall energy.
Yeah, big time.
At amusement parks, that's mom at the amusement park energy.
Oh, really? See, Sally will ride.
I hate rides.
Everything.
I mean, maybe I'm just saying that because I am the mom that hates rides. Oh, I hate rides.
I thought you were a roller coaster kid.
Absolutely not.
No, I'm with you. And all these ones that we walked past at BuschGardens, I was like, no.
I've just decided that there are ways I don't want to die.
Yeah.
I will do it.
And after the Carowinds story, how can you trust anything?
I don't want to be up there for 6 hours.
It's built into the side of a wall.
We let it keep going. This is the stuff I'm talking about, people. You know who I trust with roller coasters is Disney, and that's
not Frank Reich. That's
Disney.
Who? Oh.
Well, there's never been a Panthers There's never been a Panthers head coach I trust with the roller coaster, man. Usually they're for it.
Very fair.
At least in part. I don't know that Frank is or isn't at this point. I don't know. It's a whole thing. But I hate roller coasters.
I think I'm just going to put together a montage of you saying I don't know over and over.
Well, it's really how I feel. It's so hard because do I see Dalton playing better? Of course I do.
Yeah.
Do I want to see the Panthers have success and not feel like I want to pull out my eyelashes individually on a Sunday? Yes. Yes, I do. Do I want this offense to not look awful? Just terrible?
Yeah.
Yes, I do. But it's I don't know. I said it again. I don't know.
Yeah.
At the same time, I am big on long-term futures too, right? And if it's best for Bryce to play and take his lumps, then let's just do that and get it over with. And I will suffer with everyone else this season. And, it's fine. Bryce will suffer. We'll all just suffer together. And that's really what the Panther fan experience is anyway.